4 minutes after. It's about 4 minutes after 9, so I think we can go ahead and get started. Boy, today's weather is why we love Zoom, isn't it? We can stay where we are and stay comfortable. Our last quarterly meeting we had in person. Our guest speaker actually came to Heron, and so we said, let's try doing this in person. And her name was Leah, or Leanne, I believe was her name. And she's an attorney and a spokesperson for East River Legal. And I tell you what, if you missed that meeting, you missed a lot. I thought she was awesome. So I think at some point, I'd like to invite her back to talk to this group over Zoom, because she had a lot of really good things to talk about. Her presentation was only for about 20 minutes, and then we just talked about, you know, our client base or who she could probably help, and that was just really good. So after today's meeting, I hope we have time for a roundtable discussion, and people can bring up what's happening with their school or church or agency or nonprofit, wherever you are. We'd love to hear from you. But if any of you know Sovanna Beekman, she is high energy and fun to visit with, and I am always amazed at how many job titles she has. She has, I think, 2 that fall under the Beadle County State's Attorney, as well as she does the job that Deb Bazinko used to do in human service, right? And then she also told me the other day that she's taken on something new as this East Central South Dakota Victim Service person. So, oh my gosh, so busy. So today she's going to touch, I think, a little bit on all 4 of those, but mainly concentrate on the 2 of her jobs that really probably pertain the most to us, and be a help to our client base as well. So, Sovanna, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm a little sad. I do have a couple slides that I worked on at home that didn't save to my USB, and some technical difficulties. So I apologize. But anyway, if anybody ever wants that in the future, I can email it to you, but we'll get into all of that. But yeah, I'm ready. If you all are, I'm going to share my screen, and we will do the PowerPoint here. All right. Can everybody see that? Awesome. Okay.
And if anybody wants to put their question in chat, I can, let her know that you've got a question in there.
Yeah. All right. So first of all, thank you for allowing me to speak today. And I hope you find my Zoom presentation informative and supportive to our community. I do serve, or I have served Beadle County since August of 2018. I love my job. My experience every day is something new, something different, and it's fun. So some of you might know me from my previous occupation, working as a certified medical assistant for the past 13 years prior to this occupation. So, and I enjoyed that as well, but this is very fun for me. So, let's see here. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So my roles, I need to move this little deal here. There we go. Okay, so my roles in Beadle County, I have, I would say, 2 major, and that's the Director of Human Services, where I watch taxpayer dollars and make sure that money is coming in and people are paying on their liens and holding people accountable in that way. And then my second major work, and then / legal assistant. So I mostly work with the juveniles, but diversion coordinator, we have it for adults and juveniles here in South Dakota in our county of Beadle, and we hold them accountable for their poor decision making. And then my bonus role that I just picked up in March of last year, and I've decided to continue it, is East Central Victim Services. And this is where I help guide victims of crime through the criminal justice process. It can be very confusing, as many of you might know, if you've ever been a victim of crime. So I'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay. Hold on, I don't know why we're not moving here. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you probably a little bit more about our diversion program. And I do work for the state's attorney, Michael Moore. He's been here for a long time, so I appreciate him allowing me to develop the program with him through his ideas as well. So it's been really good. Okay, so our diversion program, like I said, is for both adults and juveniles. And we have 4 types in our county, and I'll explain those to you. Our youth programs are approved by the Department of Juvenile Justice Reinvestment Initiative, which is wonderful. So we're happy for that. Move on. The common goal that you will see in all of our diversion programs that we have is accountability, giving back to the community, and remaining a law-abiding citizen. The first one I'm going to talk to you about is our CAP program. That started in 2014 just as a single program, and we've developed into 3 more programs since then. We do partner with Cornerstone's Career Learning Center with some soft skill training through or developed through with the Department of Labor called the A Game. And then we have a brand new one that's also partnered with Community Counseling Center called Prime for Life, and that's a prevention course. It talks about biological risks as well. So those are wonderful programs. So some examples of why you would get offered the CAP program might be an example of a traffic offense, driving with no insurance. It also might be underage consumption. So those are a couple examples. We also have them do anywhere from 5 to 10 hours of community service, and then fixing the violation as well. All right, moving on. Our next one is the Positive Diversion Program. This one is for juveniles only, and this is where I do spend more time with the youth. It might be weekly, it might be a couple times within our time frame. Some examples of reasons why the youth would come to, why I would direct them hopefully to get back on track with this program is for defiance, truancy, marijuana use, or it could be theft. Holding the juveniles accountable in this program would result in community service, A Game, or Prime for Life. Also connecting them with a mental health provider. A lot of times we can't, I mean, their parents didn't raise them to act the way they're acting, right? So something's going on. And so I really encourage them to seek mental health to find out what changes there are. Or maybe it's just learn coping skills. Teenage life is hard. We all know that. How do you get through peer pressure, relationships, all those hard times? So we just try to connect somebody that needs it in the right direction. We also encourage face-to-face meetings with the school to get back on track, get an academic plan. Sometimes I do make them come sit in my office and do homework as a punishment, but also a learning curve for them too. So occasionally I do drug and alcohol testing on them at their fee. It's $10 each time they have to do that. And so we'll do that so we can get them clean. Marijuana use is primarily the one that I see the most. Thankfully, it's only marijuana and not methamphetamine. So in the juvenile, but all right. So next we have our restorative justice program. This one is for adults and for youth. So this one is super powerful. The victim gets to have a voice, basically. How it starts out, the state's attorney says, hey, this is their first violation. You know, our team says, hey, maybe the restorative justice program would be great for them. So we have volunteers come in, we sit in a circle, we talk, we build relationship, we talk about the harm that was caused and how to repair from that. Ultimately, it is the victim's decision. It keeps the person out of court as well, and it off of their record. So an example of the restorative justice program could be intentional damage to property. It could be sexting. It could be theft, or it could be a domestic violence assault. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, this one is. All right, next we have the DUI diversion program, and this is for first-time offenders. It could be marijuana, it could be alcohol. The biggest reason a lot of people choose to do the DUI diversion program is because they're going to lose their license. Losing their license could result in not having a job. Now, the juveniles, the layout is a little bit different, but overall, it's a reflective time for them as well. So I have them do an essay. How much would it have cost me to get a ride? How much would my insurance go up if I was convicted of driving under the influence? So I think that's a good eye opener for them. So I have them do a little homework. Community service, 20 hours. Jail time. They do have to serve time in jail as the adults. So it's 48 hours consecutive, no work release. And sometimes that can be a big setback for a few folks too, is that no way, I'm not going to jail. So it's a great program for some folks. So also we do a dismissal without prejudice. So that means that if they should get another DUI within 2 years, we bring back the very first one and this one. So it's up to them to make sure they're making good lifestyle changes in decision making. So the next thing, I wish I would have had more time to update for fiscal year 2023 with adults and juveniles. So I apologize that I don't have that, but I can guarantee you the number would be significantly more, talking about both youth and adults. But fiscal year 2022, we had 273 hours put back into the community just by youth. And that's great. So the reason why we do ask the defendants to do community service is hopefully we're instilling 3 things, right? So they're reflectively thinking. The other one, they give back to the community for breaking the law. And then we hope that we're promoting work ethic as well. So in Beadle County, we always could use more resources, but some of the resources that we do have for adults and juveniles is we have 5 mental health agencies. The 5th one being our school district for juveniles. I guess I should kind of clarify that during the school year. They do have counselors there that see the youth if they feel more comfortable staying right in their school setting. So then we also have Cornerstone's Career Learning Center that has a wide variety of ways to improve your life. The South Dakota Department of Labor, great connection for youth, great connection for adults as well with the services that they all provide. We also have Hope Ranch. If you don't want to talk to a counselor, but you want to do equestrian therapy, they're a great resource. We have the A Game, which again talks about the soft skill training and the 7 ethics of life that all start with an A to make you a productive member of society. We have 2. We have the middle school level, and then we also have the 14 to 21 years of age resource for them. And then we have Prime for Life. Prime for Life, it talks about biological risks, it talks about prevention, and is a great resource as well, which is brand new as of October of this year, or last year. 2023. And then we have our Huron Community Campus Center, which can help people develop and find their new career path possibly, or excel in what they're doing now. So more is always needed, but don't forget about our library too. I think I skipped that one, I apologize, but our library has a lot of resources as well to use that they put out monthly. So Okay, so how can the county community help? Biggest thing, see the positive changes in our community, support law enforcement, support your stakeholders, your organizational educational teams, and building relationships. Build successful youth right here in South Dakota. Collaborate with our educational staff. The fourth, fifth, sixth grade levels. It's so important to build truth and respect, attendance, and then showing accountability for actions. Utilize the funds that are brought to our community for new opportunities, or build up our current programs that are already in place. And then also just being a resilient community. All right, so that was a little bit about my diversion coordinator roles. Next, I'm going to move on to human services. Also formerly, yes.
I was wondering that the restorative justice, where the victims have a say, do you get any pushback from victims that don't want to be involved in that? Or is it, I mean, it seems like it would be a great thing if someone feels comfortable with that. How does that work?
Yeah, so good question. So far, no, we have not. Typically, it's the victim that gets the first offer. Would you like this? Such as our sexting one that we've had. Unfortunately, there was about 7, I'm guessing, juveniles involved. Somebody sent a nude photo. So that girl took a nude photo of herself, sent it to somebody else. Well, then it got shared. And so between her and her parents, she knew what she had done was wrong, but we're producing child pornography and it was shared. And so they all needed to be held accountable, but that victim chose to say, I know that I made a poor decision and I want to give everybody the opportunity, stay out of court. We talk about it. And so there's that. Then we have domestic violence, for example, where they don't want to see their significant other go to, or excuse me, have it on their record that they now have a domestic violence of simple assault, egg assault. It's usually simple assault, but they don't want to see that on their record. They want to see that person improve their life as well. And typically there's more to it, the story, but we try to bring out what happened at that time. And that victim just really needs to talk. They need that person to understand, this is how you made me feel. No, we have not, because the victim is the one that gets to make that decision right away. And when it's offered, I think that those victims really want to be heard. And so that's more important to them than the judge shaking his finger at them or her. Any other? Great. Yeah. All right. Moving on to human. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Sovanna. As you're talking, I'm curious how your programs tie in, or maybe do or don't tie into the Beadle County Drug Court and how that works.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So the diversion program is the step before court. We try our best to keep adults and juveniles out of the court system. And a lot of times this is for first-time offenders. However, some youth I've seen back now about 3 times. That's not that often, but sometimes I do see them back 3 times. It could be even petty theft, for example. From Walmart, we get a lot of that where yes, they were ticketed, they have to come to court, even no driver's license or no insurance. They come to court, they get ticketed, but we fix the problem, we pull them out of court, we fix the problem, and then we dismiss it with the clerk of courts. So it's a prevention, either it's a step before court. We keep them out of court.
Sovanna, how many juvenile diversion, how many students do you have in that program at any given time? What's an average?
Sure. So I will tell you that fiscal year 2023, we had 83 go through our diversion program, with 69 successfully completing the program. Currently, right now on my caseload today, I might have 12, and they could range from age 10 up to, obviously, a youth would be up to 17. And I have probably just as many adults. So the biggest thing we do is we set goals that are achievable, give tools, resources, give back to the community. That's typically the overall. If you want to argue about it, this isn't the place to do that. You can go to court. I'm giving you an option. We are giving you an opportunity to better yourself. What do you need? And that's kind of where we go with it. The biggest thing I do also tell the juveniles is I don't want you to ever say nobody tried helping you. That's what we are here for. We care. We can't read your mind. Maybe you don't know what you need, and that's okay. But again, that's where I like to involve professional people such as counselors to evaluate them. What do they need? And it's okay to talk to somebody, and I just try to encourage them that. All right, I'm going to move on. Human services. Maybe not the most exciting thing about what I do for the county, but it was also known as County Poor Relief or the Welfare Office previously. The biggest thing I think I want our community to know is that when you ask for assistance in Beadle County, it's not free. And there's more to that, but you know, they call the 211 line, they get referred to our office. Our county is a proactive county. I have lots of rules and regulations that I have to follow, but also what our commissioners have set forth. I do appreciate that, and I think you as taxpayers would also appreciate that. If you're capable of working and you choose not to work, I'm sorry, but Beadle County likely isn't going to help you. If your bill is 15 days late, I'm sorry, you should have asked us and planned before we got to that point. So again, being as proactive as we can, that's the truth. I know it's hard sometimes to hear for some people, but on the other hand of me saying, no, I'm sorry, we can't help you or you're declined. But also then I turn around and try to provide a positive resource back to them. At least there's some guidance, right? So the door doesn't just shut. We try to guide into positive achievable goals, basically. All right, so what is a lien? A lien is when Beadle County provides services to you, we are entitled to put a lien against your real estate property. So property that you have now, or you might have an interest in it in the future. So it's attached to your name. All right, reasons for liens could be economic, such as economic reasons, and you need help with electricity, rent, somebody passed away in your family, they didn't have life insurance, you don't have money. So maybe you need help with a cremation or a burial plan. Prisoner care. When someone goes into prisoner care for mental health reasons, a mental health hold, or just in custody in general for criminal activity, Medicare and Medicaid stop. And I think that's really confusing for people to understand that. But some of the reasons that we would put a lien on you for prisoner care might be medical clearance, it could be a dental visit, or it could be prescriptions that you needed while you're incarcerated. Court-appointed attorneys. If the judge does not say it as part of the sentence out loud, county collect puts a lien against you. Well, you have a lien anyway, excuse me, but it's payable to my office, to me. And the attorney charges you for the time that they put in. Court-appointed attorneys are never free. I think that's a misconception. And if you listen, the judge will say right away when rights are read that a lien will be placed against you. Okay, medical visits. We also do county liens for that. We, examples of somebody going in for, or requesting medical assistance, they went into the emergency room for a laceration, a broken bone, or maybe it was heart related. But again, if you have medical insurance, the county does not provide assistance, and it's never a guarantee that we do, but there's lots of rules and regulations, and I work very closely with HRMC, particularly with Tammy. She just does a great job for them, and we coordinate back and forth on following our rules and regulations there as well, but that could be another reason. All right, moving forward. Okay, so how can you as a community help support people in paying on their county lien? Well, we have 4 ways. Our newest is scanning the QR code, which is great. They need their lien number in order to do that, and they can pay online. Super easy. I try to encourage it. Unfortunately, out of the thousands, millions of dollars that we have out, I only have like 1 lady that pays monthly. So hopefully it gets better. But anyway, you can pay in person. Pay it to my office, Suite 108, to me, or our team here. We have a Dropbox. It's silver. It's located right between the jail and the courthouse in the back there, that alleyway. And then you can also send it by our United States Postal Service. All right, I'm gonna go back a minute. So how, I guess, that you can support our community or know more, I guess, about your county liens, ask. It's so confusing. Drug court participants, they are asked to come down, and because they're doing a financial plan to get back on track. And so they'll come down and get their liens that they have. And so I try to educate them the best I can. Hey, if the judge said it out loud, you pay it to the clerk of courts. If he didn't say it out loud, you pay it to my office. And that's confusing for people. I wish I could change that. Maybe we will in the future. But paying on your liens is important. If you don't pay, I got to send you to collections. And that, I don't care who you are, everybody's treated the same. So pay on your county liens. Something is better than nothing. How can you help them? I think just setting realistic, achievable goals for a financial plan to get back on track. Educating our community on it's okay to ask, support them in asking, where you are financially, where your bills are. And I think it can all be helpful to somebody if they would just be supported. It's okay to ask. All right, any questions about human services?
Do you charge interest?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Do you charge interest?
No, that's a really good question. We do not charge interest. We do not charge tax. Now, if you get sent over to the collection agency, they do. And I can't help that. I've usually give people about a year. We just recently sent a lump sum of people to collections. We use Prairie Land Collection Agency, and we have a 70-30 agreement. The county does, and it was like $352,000 that went between the January 1st of 2019 to January 1st of 2022, that people did not make any payments. So I have people that come in and make $10 payments, every month, and that's okay. That's what they have. That's okay. They're trying.
Who do you put the lien on if it's a burial?
So good question. So the lien would go against the deceased person and the spouse. So maybe that deceased person has property somewhere, maybe the county would get it back.
And if they
So
don't, if there's no real estate involved at all, then you just,
then our county taxpayer dollars eat it. Yeah. So it's hard when someone is under that that circumstance to filter it out, but you got to understand that Welter's Funeral Home and Cooler's Funeral Home is a business. Okay. The county is lending out, if you will, taxpayer dollars. I have to do my job. The funeral homes have to do their job. So in order to know what the finances might be behind that person, I do have to ask for a bank statement. Why? And I do have to ask the hard questions. Can you tell me why all 4 of you children cannot pay for your father, mother's funeral? So, I mean, it's hard to ask that, but it's important to ask that too.
do you get a lot of that, or what is the most, like, what is the most dollars that are out there? What kind of situation?
Are you talking about for funerals?
Sorry, I couldn't come off mute there. Yeah, for if there is a lot for funerals, for burials, but then I guess also second question, what is the most that is uncollected? Like what situation is the most, is it the?
Sure, the most that's uncollected is court-appointed attorney fees. These people are transient. They just need supported in making better financial and just in general responsibilities. So finding them, letting them know they changed their addresses, that's super hard to keep and connect with them. So going back to the burial, Beadle County allows $2,500 for professional services. That professional service could be cremation, or it could be the general traditional funeral. There are lots of rules and regulations that we follow, like weekends, meals. You can afford a meal to feed people afterwards at the church, then you can afford the funeral. I mean, there's just different things like that. And then you have the opening and closing of the grave. Then you have the vault liners as well, which is additional costs. So I would say cremation, typically then they're keeping the ashes. So they're just being only leaned $2,500. If they are going cemetery, a traditional funeral, cemetery burial, all of that, we're looking at just under $3,400, just for an example.
So Sovanna, for other, not for burial, obviously, but for these other bills, if somebody's employed, do you do a garnishment on their paycheck?
So I do not, and I do not. The collection agency does. All right. So victim services, it's a Stop Domestic Violence grant. However, I do all kinds of victim services, anybody that's a victim of crime. I think it's important that you know I do not do Beadle County. Beadle County has Nikki Fetchner as our victim services for Beadle County. I serve 10 counties, and one of the rules is you have to live in that county. I live in Sanborn County in the country, so that is, I guess, another reason why I was able to step in and do this role when our other gal had left. So the counties that I serve are Potter, so way up by Gettysburg, Sully, which is Oneida, Hyde is Highmore, Then I think some of the other ones might be more familiar, but then we have Hand, Gerald, Sanborn, Minor, which is Howard. We have Kingsbury, Clark, Spink, which is Redfield. I think I got them all, but those are the 10 counties that I serve. And how someone gets to me is by law enforcement or the state's attorney. So if a crime is committed in that county, that state's attorney that works in that county, for example, if a crime's committed in Sanborn County and you're the victim of that crime and you maybe don't live there, but the crime happened there, I'm your victim services for Sanborn County. That state's attorney reaches out to me and says, hey, I want you to help take on this case. So what I do is I provide support, helping somebody navigate through the criminal justice system, the language, the flow of what's happening in court, and also finding out how that crime has impacted them financially, physically, emotionally, and trying to provide the resources to get them connected in the right way. So maybe this crime doesn't happen to them again. So what you're looking at now is something called SAVN. It's a statewide automated victim notification system. So this service is free. You can either register online or by calling. You use the case number specific to the crime. So you can register as the victim or you just want to know about the crime. So it's awesome. I have a couple that I follow closely by where I get notifications by email, but you can get text, you can get a letter, you can get a phone call, or an email. So, or you can get all of them, however you want to be notified. So if that person goes in custody, they're out of custody, the court hearing gets moved, this is a great notification system. They probably know before we even know sometimes. So SAVN, we like to encourage. This is a resource and a tool that we provide to victims. Next, you're looking, I know this says Beadle County State's Attorney's Office, but it was put together by our state's attorney, but I use it as well. So the adult criminal court process is super confusing. It can go slow, it can go fast. So this is something that I also like to use as a tool. This helps people understand the next steps that are going to happen. So if they plead guilty or not guilty, then this happens next. Right? So this is just a great tool for them to have. And sometimes I'll write on it for them and say, okay, on this date, this happened. Now this is going to happen next. So I try our best to help reduce any confusion that there might be about the criminal process. And then we have Marcy's card. So victim services comes in because of Marcy's law. There are lots of rights that victims have, and I try to be that voice for that person and communicating what the victim thinks, wants, feels, concerns, all of that over to the state's attorney. So that's a wonderful thing, that if you've ever been a victim or you know somebody that's been a victim, that they do have rights. So the thing I guess that I would ask is that if you know somebody that's a victim of a crime, like domestic violence, for example, they're shook up. There is somebody out there that's trying to reach them, and that somebody is victim services. So if it's Beadle County, I guarantee you that Nikki is trying her hardest to get a hold of you. If it's me in those 10 other counties I told you, I'm trying to get a hold of you. Maybe the phone number's wrong. I don't have your email. Your address is wrong, or you're not living at that address that guy just beat you up. You know, those are just examples. And so now I'm trying to get a hold of you to provide all of these resources for you and guide you through it. So just to be that informative person. So, okay. Anybody have any questions for me?
Well, you must be a good multitasker, because that's a lot of different things to keep organized.
I was
Well-
just gonna say, God bless you, Sovanna. You have your hands full.
Yeah, I feel like I work better under pressure than I do when I have too much time on my hands. I don't know why that is, but anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to do my roles that I do. I truly do love this. My joy every day is being face to face with people. I'm not somebody that likes to be behind the computer punching numbers, things like that. When I have to do that, you know, I would say 2 days out of the month putting in new liens, I dread it. I feel bad saying that, and I love that role as well. But I'm just not that person. My heart is fulfilled daily by meeting with people, trying to life coach them into making better changes for themselves and being resilient. But I appreciate your time today, everybody. Thank you.
I do have a question for you. This is Teresa at HRMC. I think most people on the call, but not all, we have a new role through a grant through the South Dakota CHW, Community Health Worker, and we title them community liaisons to help them get in and bridge the gap with healthcare. But we are seeing a lot of social topics coming up, whether it's no transportation or heating assistance needed. And so my question for you is, if they were to somehow, because they go to their homes, do we just reach out to you if we have questions? I'm trying to figure out how, if they come across some type of a situation, what do they do with that information? If there is a victim, or if they complain about their child, a high school child, juvenile that just was arrested for consumption of alcohol. I don't know. They're
Yeah.
probably in a system with you already, but I'm just curious of what our specific community liaisons would do with that information.
Yes, so I very much welcome them to reach out to me. I would appreciate that they would reach out to me by email. That is the best form of communication with me, just because one, I work very closely with that, but two, because of my traveling role with the other counties and hosting meetings with some other folks. Sometimes, actually almost always, I would prefer email. Then we have a paper trail as well. But I do welcome that. I had the person through Horizon Health recently reach out to me. We talked about resources. Not only do I have access to the human services side, but I also have access to the criminal justice side. And maybe there's something somebody should know about it. Maybe I know what support services they need as well. Well, I think I know what support services they need, or try to bridge that gap. But I very much welcome that. And I would appreciate if somebody would reach out and ask those questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your email is in this invite, so I'll look it up.
Yes, otherwise I can type it right here in the chat too.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Any other questions for me?
So Sovanna, I would imagine you talk to people across the state who do some of the same jobs that you do. What do some communities have that Huron doesn't, that you think would really be a benefit? Would it be a boys or girls club, or would it be a mentoring program? Or, I mean, just throw something out there that you think, wow,
Yeah, so I really wish we had art therapy. I know that Davidson County does have somebody for that. I have some kids that, just like when I talk about the equestrian therapy for them, adults or juveniles, it's draining to talk to somebody sometimes. And some people like to express themselves through art, or maybe it's animals. In not expressing yourself through animals, I don't mean that, but just combing them, petting them, the senses, all of that. So I wish that we had that option. I wish that we had a mentor program, big brother, big sister. We have some funds that are supposed to be coming. Thank you for that, Sally gal. We have some funds that are going unspent through the Department of Social Services. And so our community, some of you on here, I might have met with you, but we are trying to put funds into the programs we have now, or maybe we might have in the future, to build youth up. And so that is a process that's happening. We're talking like $10,000 possibly coming back to Beadle County and other counties. But to answer your question, yes, I do meet once a month with other diversion coordinators for youth across South Dakota. We do that by Zoom. Annie Broken Leg is employed through UJS, and she is the lead. And we have great meetings. We're always offer training, which is great. Victim services, we are also offer training. We have bi-weekly meetings for that we're able to attend. The human services side, we have meetings that we go to that we just talk about welfare things, and that is once a year. So.
Do you find scheduling hard when you're talking about trying to connect people with therapists? I know we had, how long ago was it? We had the mental health offices in town as part of the CPR, and they were all saying they were 2-3 months booked out. Is that something that, I mean, I know like community service has to be done within a certain amount of hours. How can they, do they have to get that mental health care within a certain amount of time too?
Yeah, typically I do make them do that within 30 days. However, I tell them that I understand it's manpower, right? If we don't have therapists, we don't have the staff to complete your evaluation. I get that, but I want it scheduled. It's fresh in your mind. We're talking about it. That's a goal that's set. So they need to communicate with me and let me know when their appointment was set. However, my turnaround time typically, and I want you all to realize that I'm not picking one mental health facility over another. That is completely up to the person where they choose to go. I am so grateful for all of them in the community. However, Community Counseling Center, I am able to email the person's demographics, the reasons, the story behind it to them. Katie, or well, mostly Katie, and then there's a Jessica who is Jessica Baum is the clinical manager, whatever. I would say my turnaround time has been 2 weeks. But again, I'm letting them know what's going on, what we're looking for. I give them the demographics, how to contact them, insurance information. So yeah, so I'm very grateful for that. Or maybe it's somebody that's already established somewhere within the other agencies. And, you know, it's just a matter of reconnecting them. Again, email is such a great way to express what's going on and point blank what the concerns are. So try our best. I feel like communication is excellent through our community when things are needed. So.
Any other questions for Sovanna? You're going to stick around for the roundtable discussion for when people.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on into that. And I don't see anything in the chat. Would anybody like to offer up what's happening at their organization?
I can, Robin. Just one of the biggest things going on at Transit right now is the months of January, February, March. We are doing our PT Express, which is a senior program. We did it last year and it was very successful. What we are offering is $2.50 for seniors to ride all day long to as many destinations as they want to for that day. And there reasons for doing that. Obviously, you know, we want the ridership, but also it's an opportunity for those seniors to try transit. realize that it's not just for old people and people with disabilities. And, you know, I think a nice phrase to hear is make transit your first choice and not your last resort. It's nice to be able to offer this to the seniors during those months, because these are typically the months that there's a lot of snow, and we are a door-to-door service. So if you would like or need someone to meet you at your door and walk you out to the bus, we will do that. And so, you know, the folks that do use it, you know, really appreciate it, that don't typically use it. And it's just a nice service for us, and just another opportunity to get more people involved in transit. In fact, Independent Health Solutions purchased $200 worth of tokens and asked us to randomly hand those out to senior passengers for them. And, you know, it's great for us. It's great for them, because then we can tell people that, hey, your ride today is courtesy of Independent Health Solutions. So that's what's going on with us. We just need buses. We need buses bad, but other than that, we're good.
Do we have a question in the chat? What's the minimum age? For
60.
Gail, do you have that on social media or anything where I can tag onto it for our social media, or
It's
not?
on our Facebook pages. Yeah.
I'll go find it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So when you say anywhere, like out of town, or just
Well,
within
okay, anywhere in town, as many rides as you need. If you want to go get your hair done and then go to Walmart and then go somewhere else and then home, it's going to cost you $2.50. If you just go to the doctor and pack home, it's still $2.50 instead of $5. Yeah, they're in town only.
Gail, would that be okay if I shared it to the state's attorney Facebook page?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sovanna.
Yep.
What are your ridership numbers like, Gail? Is this time of year, are you up because people don't want to drive, or are you down because nobody wants to leave their house?
Well, that depends. We're crazy busy right now. In fact, we can't have a bus down right now, or we're hurting. That's how busy we are, and that's how desperately we need buses. But the bus situation, I have no control over. They'll get here when they get here. We actually have 5 on order, 3 more hanging in the wings. All we need to do is for the federal government to say, order them, and they're coming. So, you know, that's where we're at in this situation. But we're probably running anywhere from 350 to 450 rides a day, which is insane for us and for the capacity that we have. When I'm out driving, you know, it's tight.
what else is going on?
I can give you an update. Some of you out there are partner agencies. We are really close to 80% of our goal. So if you have any businesses left to contact, please do that. We are planning an event. I got to get my calendar out to make sure I say the right day. Last year we tried this as a new event. It's called Cabin Fever Games. So you think the fun of an outdoor barbecue during the summer and the cold dead of winter inside the Norby exhibit hall. We're going to have this on the 24th of February. That's a Saturday. I'm still working out some of the details with sponsorships and what types of events we're going to have at that, and times and everything, but be looking for a flyer. I'll get that out when we have it. And partner agencies, I have allocation checks ready, so you can be looking for those end of this week or beginning of next. I should probably let everyone know too, our backpack numbers for the backpack program are higher than I've ever seen them. We have like 60 or 70 more kids right now than we had at this time last year. So be looking for information on that too. We're gonna try to have a couple of food drives throughout the community. Some of our different businesses and I think some churches are looking at doing some stuff for us. If you hear of any grant opportunities out there, please let me know. There's a lot of businesses, a lot of places that we actually applied for grants during COVID that we had like COVID relief dollars, that those grants have been discontinued now, so we are not able to receive those. So if you hear of anything, statewide, nationwide, whatever, let me know so I can try for it.
Well, the price of groceries are out of sight, so I can sure see that. Savannah?
Yeah, so one positive thing, so I do get federal funding for the county and I manage that. And I just wanted to let you know, we are going to be getting federal funding soon. Typically it's usually like $5,000, for example. And in the past, we've supported Huron area senior center for meals. We've also supported, where else? Oh my goodness. It's a thrift shop, not the Salvation Army because they have their own. It's another one. Across from Taco John's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I will mention that to our commissioners about the backpack program.
Love that.
Funding. Yeah, so if there's any other agencies, nonprofit, absolutely let me know sooner than later. It's just a matter of manpower of me going online and all of that. So I do hope to have that done in the next 2 weeks, but
well, if you need help with anything, manpower, let me know. I also would like to say I just had a kid come do community service for me yesterday at Backpack. And it's always nice. I don't always have opportunities because it just depends on, you know, where we're at for packing and what I've got going. But it is always nice to have someone call and ask if there's anything that. So who can all? Is it just nonprofits? I mean, who can I refer people to if I don't have anything at the time?
Oh, community service, they have a big list. I don't know how many I have on there, to be honest with you, but I bet you I have at least almost 20 businesses that they can do community service. I can't send them to a stranger's house, but I always tell them, hey, if there's somebody in your area of where you live that needs help shoveling their snow, picking up a tree branch that fell down, that you can provide help to them, absolutely help them. If it's going to your favorite fishing spot, hunting spot, and there's garbage everywhere, or if it's a park that you love playing soccer at, skateboarding, playing basketball, and you notice there's garbage all around and you want to pick that up, absolutely do it. But then we have some rules I have to make sure that they follow to make sure it's truthful.
Sure.
But yeah, so also that's another thing. If anybody, I'm sorry, what?
This time of year, shoveling for elderly and stuff too would probably be, People's Transit probably has a whole list of people that could use sidewalks and driveways shoveled.
Yeah, so yeah, it's just if anybody ever wants to be on my community service list and you don't have anything when someone contacts you, say no. You know, I mean, or if you're like, I really need help, the Beadle County Humane Society, sorry, losing my train of thought. Beadle County Humane Society just recently phoned out and said, hey, we really need help. So absolutely, I tell them this is where you're going, unless you absolutely can't stand animals or have an allergy, right? But they need help, they want you, contact them. So.
Is timing an issue there? I know, like, I can let people come on the weekend or whatever, but some places, if the business isn't open or if like the Humane Society isn't open that time, is that ever an issue? I'm thinking especially for kids that are in school during the day and then maybe have a job or something at night. Is that ever an issue?
Yeah, it is an issue. But you know what? They have to take on all that responsibility to figure that out. And if it doesn't work out for them, they have to find another place to do that. Yep.
Just as a nonprofit, I had somebody on, I want to say Tuesday call me and say, can you use a community service today? And I'm like, no, because I was just overwhelmed because I was really short staffed. And I'm like, I'm going to sit down when I have 2 minutes and I'm going to write a list of all the things that should be getting done around here that aren't, that anybody could do, so that the next time I have that unexpected, I'll say, yes, you can come in and do this, this, and this. So I'm better prepared because we regularly get calls, which is awesome. I just was not prepared that day, and I had nobody to pawn it off on because everybody else was sick. So just a suggestion, one of the things I'm going to do.
I'd like to give a shout out to Sarah Ramirez. You helped my client of oh, it's been a couple months ago, I think. Young woman had an emergency hysterectomy. She was so sick, her doctor said, you need to be off work 12 weeks. Employer said, you're a good person. We'd like to have you back, but you're out of sick leave. And what did you help her with? The CARES Act, and you helped her with what, 3 months rent and utilities?
Yeah, so she qualified for the emergency rental assistance program that we're partnering with South Dakota Housing on. And we paid her back rent plus the next 3 months forward along with the utilities for those months. She's trying to get back on her feet now, and working through it. Through that program, we don't always tell people this up front, but technically with the program, they can get up to 18 months worth of assistance if they have continuing hardships or new hardships. Of course, we don't tell them that because our goal is to get them to get back to self-sufficiency. And sometimes that 18 months can inhibit that goal. So we just let them know, here's what we can do. Typically, first time they're offering or they're requesting assistance, in most cases, they'll do 3 months in advance, unless it's really small hardship. But in most,
and this is a client who Spanish was her native language, although she did very well in English. So it was fabulous having Sarah because she could talk to her in Spanish. And I, literally burst in tears when Sarah said how much she could help her. And I did too. It was awesome.
It was really nice to be able to partner too.
What's that?
It was really nice to be able to partner because there were some things like she had some technology challenges and Robin and I were able to work back and forth together to be able to, I could say, go to Robin's office and bring her this, and Robin could forward it on to me or the documents on to me. So
yeah, we scanned them in and sent them off for her and whatever. But that was so nice. An example of somebody who really, she lived on nothing, but she didn't ask for a lot of assistance. And then this health crisis came along and she and her 2 kids were in crisis. It's bad. Thank you, Sarah. Publicly, thank you, Sarah. Don't forget her. These agencies who help Beadle County, but they aren't physically located in Beadle County, we always forget about them. There's is it called ICAP out of Sisseton? They have helped our clients with utility bills and all sorts of things. Sarah out of Sioux Falls, don't forget them. They're great resources.
One trend I could maybe share that we're seeing is a lot of you guys might know the interest rates are going up in general, but what we're seeing is people that lived on their credit cards through COVID, those interest rates are going up, and now the result of that is their credit or their payments are going up. So we're seeing a lot of people, not only are some of those COVID programs starting to kind of wind down, people are getting hit with those higher payments on their credit cards. We do have a debt management program. It's different than debt settlement, which are a lot of the ones that you'll see on TV. They make a payment to us and we make a payment to their creditor for them. But the creditors have some relationships with debt management agencies like us to lower their payment amount and their interest rate to make those payments a little bit easier. And at least when they're making their payments, it's actually going toward the balance. So we can talk them through that and some other debt options too, if you start to see people struggling with that. Typically our November and December is pretty slow. Nobody wants to talk to their financial counselor while they're spending on the holidays. But this year we were busier than we've been in a long time. And I think it's just the combination of those payments going up with the holiday spending. We anticipate coming into January and February here as they get their statements from their holiday spending. We'll probably see those numbers continue to go up too. So if you're seeing that with anybody you're working with, feel free to reach out.
Sarah, I'm sorry, where do you work? Where do you work with?
Yep. Lutheran Social Services, the Center for Financial Resources. I can put our link in the chat here too. Right on our website, through the link is the phone number and the email address they can call, or right online they can request an appointment and let us know what days or times they're available and we'll send them an appointment date. We can do appointments via Zoom, we can do them via phone, however it's easiest for people.
To kind of piggyback with Sarah, since she's jumping into the chat, Feeding South Dakota is happening here today at People's Transit. That typically starts about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and they go until, until it's basically gone or people quit going through. So that's going on today. And then also the senior box program, it has been moved from the Salvation Army over to the senior center. And I did include that that page, front and back application in the chat too. So if you know of seniors that would qualify for that, I mean, the resources are here. Let's get the word out. Let's get people food that need it. I mean, I think it absolutely stinks that we have 600 and some backpacks that are going out, and the lines that go through here for Feeding South Dakota and the Salvation Army are just insane. I mean, I'm thrilled that we're able to do this and be a part of it, but it's just insane that the United States has people in this situation. There, I'm off my soapbox.
I was in a meeting with Megan from the senior center yesterday, and she said last month they had 8 boxes go out, and they were really excited because they thought that that was good to have 8. I mean, they were excited because it was more than they have had recently. And all of us said, oh my gosh, there's so many more people that need it than 8 per month. But she said part of the issue is that if the person can't come pick up themselves, then they have to assign a proxy. So we discussed ways that maybe people or organizations could sign up to be that proxy, so that if someone can't leave their house, if it's someone from Meals on Wheels, if it's someone that isn't mobile enough to do that, if there was a way that we could get it figured out where volunteers could go, or people could go, businesses could go and get that food to them.
Gail, what kind of ID do you have to have with you to go through the line?
You just have to have your driver's license, I believe, for the Feeding South Dakota. Yeah. And then you just tell them your income, whatever that is, and they run you through. I mean, everybody goes through, everybody. And it's an amazing amount of food, and all of it. It's just amazing what happens through that program. People are lined up on 2nd Street even before we open, waiting to go through. So, and I think there was conversation yesterday at Coalition about having proxies, pick up somebody's food here as well. So, we'll work that how we can, Jen.
I remember helping a couple of clients back when it was at the Open Bible Church. And if you ever have an opportunity to help a client or somebody, and of course now it's you stay in your car, but it's an eye-opening experience, isn't it, Gail? It's completely eye-opening.
Gail, could you put me down to be a volunteer? I'd like to try it. I've never experienced Feeding South Dakota before.
Actually, we're just the place. All you have to do is show up about 11 o'clock on that Thursday when they're doing the distribution. And it's typically the 3rd Thursday of every month. And, people just show up, and it's just amazing how their process works. They get them going through. It just moves great. And we're thrilled to be able to be that partner, to able to give these folks a place to go inside when they get cold and things like that. So no, but it's just a matter of showing up, Sovanna.
Okay.
Teresa, I was at a meeting yesterday and they were telling me that the funding for the community health workers is being reduced or potentially rescinded. Do you know?
No, it has. So the first year they extended a year, and that funding will be completed May 31st. And that was always the expectation. It's not anything new. It basically was 1 and then 2 years to get the program started within your organization and get your feet underneath you and help support that through those first 2 years. But we will continue it. Our CEO and administration team is very supportive of what they're doing, who they're connecting with. As I listened to your guys' successes and Sarah's a few minutes ago, It's amazing what they have been able to help with some of them. Some are very simple connections, helping them, oh, I don't know, get Medicaid, the paperwork or something. But there's others that a gentleman who was homeless and somebody took them in within their community. He didn't have a bed. He didn't have a bedroom. He was sleeping on the floor in their house. Had medical issues going on also, and they were able to eventually get him into long-term Medicaid, and he is now at Angel House, and a good place for him. So they've got transportation. It's just, so we will continue it. It will be out there. So probably the only downside that I can see, that's not really a downside, is it is driven through a physician order, provider order. Dentists can actually order a community liaison or a community health worker to assist with needs that they might have. It's really hard to find dentists and appointments. Many of ours have chosen or are not accepting Medicaid patients. And so we've had some go as far as DeSmit or Howard and setting up appointments. But anyway, so it will continue. But yes, that is true. The funding ends May 31st. Oh, probably to add to that, Medicaid, we can bill for Medicaid patients, and Medicare is soon to come. It sounds like they are still working out the details of that. And we are continuing. The state representative, Ben Tinswald, continues to meet with insurance companies to see if they will not start approving that billing too. So
That's good to hear. Yeah, and they said something about the billing being very confusing because so much of their time is spent with the things you said, dealing with those social
yes,
security, like being secure, I guess.
If any of you remember the hierarchy of needs, and sometimes you just need a home and heat and food and being able to financially support yourself then, and that has happened with several I can think of, where eventually you get to the healthcare needs. So we had one who actually finally then, after working with them for months, she ended up getting a colonoscopy, and here she had colon cancer. So she is now recovered from that and doing well, but you eventually get to that healthcare. So thank you for asking.
Can I jump on something that Teresa said too? She talked about Medicaid. If they're in the right category with Medicaid and they're on Medicaid, they will pay for transportation for people to medical appointments. So just want everybody to know that if they are dealing with anybody, in that world, we just run their Medicaid number through the system, through the state system. And if they qualify, we do the billing. They don't have to do anything. We just take care of all of that for them.
That's good to know. I did not realize that. That could be an option.
Yeah, it's not everybody that's on Medicaid, but there's different categories, and we check those out.
Jolene or Linda, are you still on with the school district? You want to chime in? Or maybe you're just busy doing something while you have it on.
Still on. Do you have any questions for the school district? I don't know that I have anything to add, but I certainly can answer any questions that you have for the school district right now. We're getting prepared for access testing with our ESL students. Access testing starts January 23rd and goes through February 23rd for all of our qualified ESL students. So that's the busy time for those.
How have your ESL numbers been? Are they leveled? Are they a little lower than they've been?
I don't know if Jolene is still on or not, but it's we've kind of exploded. We just keep continuing to grow. Actually, even since count day, that was way back in September, our numbers have grown a lot. Our school district right now is we're at the largest numbers that we've been in the last couple of years. Just like our buildings are full. And so Unfortunately, that's not where it was at Count Day, you know, where we get the funding from the state. But yeah, we've continued to grow a lot with student numbers coming in.
Can you give me an idea where they're coming from? I'm asking this because I want to make sure my program is reaching the same students, the same demographic base. Sometimes I worry I'm missing a group.
I'm trying to look to see if Jolene's
And it's something I can follow up with Jolene.
here. Yeah, you know, she's the one who registers the students. I don't register them in my office. You know, we have, hang on 1 second. I'll see if I can get her on the phone to just see if she's got one certain area that we've got them coming in from. Hey, they're wondering if we have a certain area that students are coming from. Mostly Guatemala.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. And what are our ESL numbers at right now? The ones that we actually serve right at this moment. Okay, thank you. Bye. At this moment, the students that we serve, and keep in mind that, you know, this doesn't mean that that we don't have lots of students who still are on watch, you know, that, but we serve 1,017 ESL students in our district right now.
Thank you.
What was
So-
that number, Linda?
Yeah.
What was that number?
1,017.
Linda, do you know, I know I heard the hot lunches are discontinued for the summer feeding program. Do you know, or maybe it's an Amanda question, or maybe they don't know yet about the grab and go? Is that gonna be like how often it's gonna be, or what that consists of? Or maybe it's not decided yet.
Well, that's a great question. And I'm going to say that it's up in the air right now, because at one moment we were not going to have summer school. And yesterday we just had a meeting on it, just with the fact that, you know, since our influx of ESL has kind of burst again, we're re-looking at that. And we did get a little bit more grant money that came in because of migrant and with some of those funds. And so we're kind of trying to do a last minute shuffle and seeing if we can meet the needs of some of those students and regroup. We're a little bit behind the 8 ball on that, but you know, student needs have to come first. And so we're trying to regroup and figure out what we can do in that means and come up with, even if it's just a K-5 program. You know, but unfortunately, when you do that, it's okay, well, what's it going to look like? How does it impact busing? How does it impact the feeding program? Would it also mean that we have to figure out a breakfast thing? You know, there's just so much that it encompasses, you know, and always with ESL, you know, when we say language arts, really for them, it's the 4 domains of listening, reading, speaking, and writing. It's not English language arts like what people actually think about. It's the acquisition of those skills and then the basic math skills of understanding number sense, you know, and for older children, having some basic common mathematics skills of understanding money and those kinds of things. Those are the basic, excuse me, I'm kind of struggling with a little bit of throat thing. Having those kinds of skills to help them. So we are scrambling right now with trying to figure out, wow, we need to, you know, we've got such an influx of numbers. That's a pretty huge ESL number that we're dealing with right now. And matter of fact, the reason she went off, we had a family show. We all of a sudden now have families just showing up and wanting to register. She's with a family right now. And so, you know, I don't know how many children are in there with her. But that's X number more that, will probably be signing up again. And I know she has 2 this afternoon to register already. So, I just gave you the number of 117. Well, that number is already incorrect. And so, talking about your backpack program and everything, that means that many more and that many more. And, we were just even talking yesterday at the admin table, all of those things that people don't realize unless you volunteer in the classroom and those kinds of things of, oh my goodness, we're short of underwear when the kids have an accident, or we could use more snow pants and boots, because even though they're only supposed to use them when they go out for recess, they go home, and the kids need them at home. And sometimes, whether it's supposed to happen or not, some of their parents are the size of some of the kids, and they take the kids' clothes, and then it just does happen that way,
It would be great if some organization, United Way or some other organization, would facilitate, because I'm like, okay, my kids hit the point where my youngest one is like, okay, I have no more sizes to donate to the kindergarten, 1st grade. I had connections in kindergarten and 1st grade because my sister and my cousin are both teachers there. So I'd be like, okay, can you guys use any of, and I'll wash them all up. They'll be ready to go. Snow pants, because, some things obviously are not usable again, or like underwear. Okay, I'll clean them really good. They'll be good. And, but what about that next level? Because I would love to donate,
the next level need them.
Army, but I want to give them to somebody who could just use them tomorrow.
Well, we had one. This is the first winter that we haven't done a winter clothing drive. And part of it was when I checked during the fall, they said, well, right now we have a lot, but if you've had a lot more families come through, I mean, before we did it, in November, before it got really snowy and stuff, but if you're seeing that you need it now, I can put it out there. The chamber had collected items, and either I or Dawn would go every week and figure out what was at the chamber and bring it to the right school. So if it's something that you need, we could definitely still do that for the winter clothing drive. I'm wondering about the food part. Like, I know without as many kids in summer school and having that be questionable, that's a huge part of the kids that went through and did the hot lunches. So it makes sense if they're discontinuing that, not going to be able to do that. But I'm wondering about, like, if you need help with handing the food out, if it's going to be like during COVID where people drive through the line and pick up. I can think of volunteers, I can think of businesses that would probably send people over. So if that's something that volunteers could help with, I know on the flip side, you've got staff that depends on those hours and depends on that paycheck. So I don't want to take that away if it's something that someone needs that funding, needs that money. But if or I guess I should say when those details, let me know. And if there's some way we can help.
That's a great, I will depend on you as a resource, Jen. That's what I'll do when all of those, it's too hard saying, oh, here, let me tell all you people to do this. I can't, we have to figure out what it looks like first. And there's so many moving parts to it. So I think like Kathy Bastrom and Amanda Riley and Jolene and the principals and I have to figure out what's it actually going to look like. How can we put this together quickly and then get teachers hired to teach it, and then I can say, Jen, can you do this for me? We need a volunteer to, I don't know what it looks like, to bring these grab and go lunches to the buildings, if that would be what it is. Or, Amanda, she wasn't even, unfortunately, part of the brainstorm yesterday of all of a sudden us saying, oh my goodness, we have this many new ESL people that are now here, since we decided, no, we were using the money differently this year in programs within the schools. We've been having high school kids tutor our ESL students this year instead of doing summer school. And so we were, trying to see if that made a bigger impact on them being able to learn the language better and making relationships, you know, with upper level kids. We're trying to build relationships. And so then all of a sudden we got all the, you know, we are growing by leaps and bounds with, you know, the kids. And so now we're going, goodness, we better relook at this. And then we got some more grant funding. And so sometimes you have to just reevaluate. So that's where we're at.
And if we can be any way of assistance in that, of course, reach out to us, because we work with their parents a lot, or we should be if we're not. So please. Yeah, don't
Thank
forget,
you.
of course, yeah. Sovanna, I wanted to give you a heads up. I was at a meeting and included, and Rob was on the meeting yesterday. It was our board meeting, and Yankton is, of course, Yankton community is dealing with exactly what we dealt with 15 years ago, and the explosion of change with the school district. So I keep referring people from Yankton to different agencies. Well, now it's hit the judicial system. And so I referred them to, I gave them your name and I gave them Mike Moore's name, because they're like, how do you deal with it? And I'm like, well, go call the people who do it every day. So heads up, I may have referred them to you.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. Yankton does have a diversion coordinator, so and they have a boys and girls club as well. So they have great things going in that community. But I'm very open to answering or guiding. So, but thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we have like I would say, I can't even, we probably have enrolled 300 plus adults in the last couple months in English language. That's how much it's exploding that fast.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so of course it's going to hit all the other things that we've just been living it so long we forget.
Yeah, thank you for the heads up, but I'll look forward to it when they reach out.
Perfect.
I think Lacey says Simple Meats is doing the recruitment. Is that right?
That's one of the big ones. They say they're not, but but I don't know why they say that. It doesn't make any sense, but there's a lot of band-aids going on right now, but they're trying to figure it out.
It's always good to hear, you know, we like to hear the good stories, but it's good for us to hear, this group and everybody to hear, what's the need? What's the wish list? What do you see coming out? Because sometimes we do, I think, as a community, get money or programs, and we say, what's out there? And, you know, if we don't talk to each other, we don't know what that need is. We've gone a couple minutes over our 90 minutes. Anybody want to wrap up with anything? Okay. If not, we will go ahead and close out. I love CPR. I think we do good things with communicating with each other. And February, March, April. Okay, we'll see you in April.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sovanna.